this thing on? Is this thing... Fuck. Is this... God. Hey, is this on? Hi, welcome everyone to a new video. My first new video in a bit. I did my fantasy sort of talk interview with Philip Chase a couple weeks ago now, so it's been a minute since I've made a video, but I wanted to make this one. It's just a fun little video for you, kind of going off of the fantasy theme that I set with my last one. And today we're going to talk about my just a fun little video about my ranking of the top 10 characters from Avatar, The Last Airbender. I finished that show in like February, and I've wanted to make like a video about it for a while because like there's a lot to talk about, and it's just a good show. But I just feel like everybody's like there's just so many videos about Avatar: The Last Airbender, and they're just like better at like analyzing it, and like it's people who have kind of watched that show a lot, so like they kind of have more thoughts on it and better analysis. But it's probably my new favorite show, so I do want to talk about it, and you know, this channel is sort of pretty fantasy focused, and it's a great fantasy story. So I want to run down my list of the top 10, my top 10 favorite characters, because Avatar, not to go on too long in my preamble, but Avatar: The Last Airbender, one of the great highlights from that show is just the phenomenal character work that goes on there. And, you know, even in characters that are only in one or two episodes, most of them are just so well fleshed out, and also just well acted and well written, and there's so much thought that goes behind them. I mean, I watched sort of an analysis of Azula's character and just the depth that the writers put into her, and the subtle things and in the flashbacks of her and Zuko's childhood. It's crazy. It's inspirational how well they write their characters. So without further ado, let's get into it. All right, I'm going in reverse order because that's the most exciting order, obviously. So starting off at number 10, we have Suki. Suki's cool. She's not like, I don't know, they don't explore her character that much. I mean, she's certainly in it, and she's cool. But yeah, mostly she's up there just because she has those cool vibes. She fights with the fan, and she's a Kiyoshi warrior, and she's just, you know, she be vibing. You know what I mean, kids. And yeah, she's a good character. You know, maybe there's some other characters who are not on the top 10 list who are a little more well defined, but I don't know, they don't have that same charisma that I like about Suki, and the vibe and the gravitas of the character. Coming in at number 9, it's Oppa. I mean, come on. Like, I know he doesn't talk, but like, you gotta love Oppa, man. He's always there for him. He's wholesome. He's like, but he's also like, you know, he's a badass, and he's a flying bison. What is there not to love? He's loyal. He's you know, the bottom few on this list I'm not really gonna go into as much because they're the bottom few, and obviously they're ones that I like a lot, but I like the least out of the ones on this list. But going a little more in depth into this one, Katara is number 8. Katara is such an interesting character. Do you know, she has such strong like morals, and just, yeah, out of all of them, I feel like she's not necessarily the one I relate to the most, but I feel like might be the most similar to me, because she's just like kind of all about these firm morals that she doesn't really move from, and she just is kind of like the mom of the group um, when she's with her with the gang, and she's just very willful, and the way she interacts with her brother and with Aang and everyone she comes across it's different with everybody, and yet also she has that essential Katara character, and she's very wise for her age, but sometimes a bit hot-headed, um, and maybe doesn't think things through entirely because uh, of her sort of moral framework that she has and her very grounded beliefs, but at the same time is often more the voice of reason, and the one who does think things through and is very creative and innovative. And I think she's just really great character work. Not my top favorite, but certainly a very interesting character to watch. Um, Coming in at number 7, another one I don't have a ton to say about, Avatar Kiyoshi, who I really want to read the books about her. So I don't know a ton about her character, but she's cool. I mean, come on, from what they show in the show, it's like she's one of the most powerful avatars, and she fights for what she believes in, and her legacy is just you know continues on because she was so epic. Um, Next we have Avatar Aang. For now I'm keeping him above Kiyoshi. Maybe once I read the Kiyoshi novels, she's gonna take that spot. But Aang is, I have in a lot of like fantasy stories and just stories in general, like the chosen one, he's not really a chosen one, he kind of is, but like the chosen one and the protagonist type person is just kind of like bland, or just kind of a filler personality. Like you have to put your personality into them, so they're the relatable one, and it's just kind of boring a lot of the time. Aang is not like that. He's not like a movie Harry Potter. He has such. I'm really glad they could have very easily just kind of made him sort of bland and just like this. It's the monk kid he has the strong moral framework, and that's all there is to him. But no, he's nuanced, and he likes to have fun. He's a kid essentially. That's what I really like. They didn't make him like this, like just like Yoda. They made him, well, I mean, even Yoda is a playful guy. They didn't just make him like this completely monastic uh type person. He's a kid. The first thing he says is, "Will you go penguin sledding with me?" And he's playful. He's kind of mischievous. Sometimes he's impulsive. But at the same time, and you see it more as the show progresses and he gets older, he's very thoughtful, and he's strong, and a powerful bender, and a very spiritual person. So he has that playfulness, that silliness, that love of having fun that he carries throughout the whole show, even as he matures even more and becomes more spiritually grounded. And I think that's really great. And there's a lot more to say about him, but I don't want to make this video super long. But I really appreciate that in his character, and it really makes the show more interesting for the titular character, the chosen one, to actually be like a character and not just bland, righteous, generic hero character. Right above Aang, at number 5, I have Saka. Saka has a really great arc in that show, especially in the first couple seasons. He really, it's a gradual arc throughout that show where he just kind of becomes a better person, and just a more well developed and confident person. He starts off uh, kind of annoying. Like, he was not my favorite character at first, and there's a reason for that. And he's always kind of yelling, and he's like sexist, and he's angry a lot, and very and overly skeptical about things. I mean, he's skeptical about water bending, which is like like the best thing ever, but he's skeptical about it. And you realize as you watch more, that definitely comes from a place of insecurity, mixed with a skeptical and loud personality. Um, but that mixed with his sort of insecurity about having to sort of be the guardian of the tribe when maybe he doesn't necessarily feel super confident about having to do that, but he pretends he is, and he's sad and really, really sad about his father leaving. He loves his father, and his father has to go and fight off in the war. He's worried about that, and he feels all this responsibility, and he thinks, I gotta be the man of the tribe, and he, you know, has some sexist and overly skeptical and kind of annoying tendencies, but as he goes on this journey, he learns more about himself. He experiences and learns to learn from women, and he becomes the warrior that he always claimed to be uh, throughout all the seasons. But he doesn't become super braggy about it, because now he actually is the thing that he was bragging about being, and he has his super cool iconic sword, and he learns pretty much everywhere he goes. He learns something, and he's the only one in the gang besides Appa and Momo. Well, Appa does airbend. Besides Momo, who is not a bender. But he does feel some insecurity about it, but he overcomes it, and he doesn't need it. He doesn't need bending because he's such a great warrior, and he becomes a better and better warrior, and better person, and a more confident person. And rather than his skeptical and kind of loud personality becoming like a negative thing, it becomes a really positive thing. And maybe he's still annoying to some people around him or even viewers, but it really becomes with his newfound humility and confidence and just character development, it becomes a positive trait. And he becomes more of a leader and a strategist, and he cares about he openly cares about people more. Um, and then number 4, now we're getting into the really good ones. We got Zuko. Come on, everybody loves Zuko. Uh, Zuko's arc. I mean, everybody who's seen the show knows his arc is just it's a work of art. His relationship with his foil uncle character of Iroh is just probably the best relationship in the whole show. Uh, how much he learns, how the arc isn't just this sudden shift, but it's gradual, and you see him after he's banished slowly coming more to the light. But then when you think maybe he's gonna turn, he goes back to the dark Fire Nation, and he goes back there, and you get to see that even like the worst people in the Fire Nation, besides maybe Ozai, are like nice, have nice traits, and are essentially teenagers. I'm talking about when I say Fire Nation people, I just mean like the main teens from the Fire Nation. Um, and you really see Zuko be friends with these people, and you sort of realize, oh yeah, like these people like are his friends, so he sees them still as the good guys. But then he sort of goes through his realization where he's like, oh my God, my uncle is right. And even though these people are my friends, except for Azula, um, maybe they just don't realize how bad of a place they're in with the Fire Nation, and his whole redemption arc, but just everything he goes through and all his struggles, and how he gains the trust of Team Avatar and becomes part of them, and you know that great moment when he uh, fights his father and does the lightning thing, and when he does the Agni Kai with Azula. It's just great character, and when we see him in his old age in Korra, we see he's still the same guy, but wiser and older and probably more powerful. And similar to Saka, he starts off kind of brash and ignorant in a way, um, but ends up becoming a lot more humble and understanding of other people and their struggles and of himself. Number three, we have Toph. Toph is just a really incredible uh, kid. She's getting the obvious out of the way. She's blind, but she completely owns it, and she makes jokes about it because she's just owns it so much, and she has made it into an advantage where it makes her even more powerful, and she pretty much doesn't even need eyes at all. And she's just it's interesting how she seems like a naturally kind of brash and real energetic, stubborn character. But I think that also is one of her faults, because probably because of her upbringing and how her parents were weird to her, and how she feels like she has to prove something a lot because of that, and her stubbornness and stuff, it becomes a fault often, but it's often also her greatest strength. And, she can be kind of closed off from people, but at the same time, she's very loving and a great teacher and very wise and intelligent for her age, um, and very powerful. She, I feel like she has an arc, but she doesn't have that same kind of 180 kind of arc as like Zuko, but she might have kind of like she has development, but she doesn't have quite as much as some of the others, and she sort of stays in that stubborn way. Although, she does get sort of less closed off and like, oh, I don't need anybody's help, kind of. But it's really interesting how it's both a fault and a big advantage. And I just love her attitude toward life and her toward seeing blindness as an advantage almost in a way, and just her humor, and just her zest for an adventure, and for fighting for what's right, and for herself. When she was first introduced, she sort of became like my favorite character. Now she's down at number 3, but still in the top 3. Amazing character work. Love Toph. Did not know that she was going to be a character coming into Avatar. But when I first saw her, I was like, oh, I really hope this isn't just a one episode character and she like joins the gang. And she did, so that's awesome. Number 2, we got Azula. Azula, close second. The thought that went into her psychology is just phenomenal and inspiring, and just amazing, because she's very clearly egotistical in a way, most likely sociopathic, does not feel compassion or empathy, very rarely does, because she does sort of show a little bit of that in the beach episode. And it's such a product of, her father, who was the only one who sort of encouraged her, and so therefore she sort of gravitated toward him, and learned his horrible values instead of her mother, who had way better values, but because of those values saw the fault in Azula, and so sort of like was disappointed in her and never really said anything good about her. And ironically enough, her mother, who had way better values, sort of pitted Azula against her, so that Azula went more toward her father. And clearly Azula is naturally sort of, kind of evil, in a way, but which is what draws her more toward her father, who is kind of the same way, and very against showing love and affection, and just about power, and expanding the Fire Nation, and being egotistical and thinking she's the best and she has to be worshipped. That's all really interesting. And then there's just, she's cool. She's a cool character. The way she talks, the way she fights, just her vibe. I keep saying that word, but just these characters have good vibes, man. Like, they're cool. Like, she's just such a cool villain, and she's only like a 14-year-old girl, but she's like terrifying. And how she starts going mad at the end because she can't understand uh, characters who betraying her because they chose love instead of fear, when she thought fear was the most powerful thing of all to lead people. And then she starts questioning herself and questioning the loyalty of everybody, and she just starts going crazy, and worse and worse. And what was once this very cold and just like very precise person becomes sort of this wild force, but it's still the same person, and it's just terrifying to see uh, her unleashed like that. And I do want to read the comics that do continue her story. I haven't gotten around to that. I've heard a bit about them, but they seem really interesting and really explore her sort of the way she convinces herself that everybody's against her, and somehow her mom is all behind it. And it's just so interesting how her childhood has affected her that much. And she's just a great villain. She's kind of the Darth Vader of that series. Um, and normally you wouldn't think a Darth Vader type character who gets in there and fights and is the bad guy who's chasing the good guys. You wouldn't think that person would be a 14-year-old girl, but she is. But she does it so well, and they do it so well, and the acting is so great, and she's just a scary, scary teenager, um, with so much gravitas and power and evil. Um, Complete opposite of the spectrum is number one, which is Uncle Iroh. God, if people know my taste in characters, they know I love me a wise old guide type character, someone who's been through life, someone who's wise, um, and has learned a lot, and is powerful, and you don't always see all their power unleashed, but when you do, it's just so satisfying because it's like, okay, kids, you've done your work, now let me come in here with my years and years of experience and wisdom, um, and power. And Uncle Iroh is just such a wise and kind person, and he guides Zuko, and then later on some of the other characters as well. And he's just has a great sense of humor, loves his tea and his games. What a gamer! um, no, but Uncle Iroh is just an incredible character in person, and uh, in that episode, I forget if it's called Songs of Bossing. I forget if it's called Songs of Bossing Say or Tales. I forget, but in that episode where we get to see him sort of interacting with different people and just going about his day, and you can see a lot of that is him sort of reminiscing about his son, and especially at the end of that episode, you see that, but also just him being a kind person, being confident, knowing that he has this power, but he doesn't really want to become this crazy Fire Lord person at all. He just wants to make his tea. He wants to hang out, and he really wants to help his nephew because he sees all the good in Zuko, and he becomes frustrated because Zuko doesn't realize his own potential, and he really wants Zuko to redeem himself and do the right thing. And he subtly and then less subtly tries to get Zuko to do that throughout the episodes, and he just has an incredible relationship with his nephew, and teaches him so much, both in terms of bending and also more so in terms of life and wisdom and knowing yourself and creating your own destiny, and how to find a real sense of honor and compassion in doing the right thing. Just seeing him care so much about Zuko and other people in the world is just incredible. And I love me some wise old Gandalf, Yoda, Ben Kenobi uh, types, and we love a mentor. We stand a mentor. All right, my camera battery died, but I'm just gonna do the outro on my phone. That's my ranking of the top 10 characters from Avatar. Um, I hope you enjoyed. It's probably gonna stay about the same for the top three at least, but it might fluctuate. But as of now, that's my top 10. Just an incredible show with incredible characters. And if you haven't seen it, I don't know why you watch this video, but I do recommend it. Just incredible fantasy and incredible storytelling. Um, so yeah, if you like this video and you are not already, consider subscribing for more book stuff, fantasy stuff, storytelling stuff. Um, Leave a like if you like the video. Um, and my book, It Stings, a collection of prose and poetry. It's a short horror story and poetry collection, definitely with mostly fantasy horror stories. If you're interested in that, link is down in the description. So yeah, that's all for now. Thanks for watching. Peace.